Tonight's story is about beauty, success, and a generational curse born from cruelty. A woman haunted since childhood discovers her greatest shame is tied to a forgotten girl who died in pain. This is a supernatural journey of truth, forgiveness, and liberation. Prepare yourselves. This tale will touch your heart and chill your bones. Adora had always been the kind of woman who made people pause when she walked into a room. Elegant, polished, and breathtaking in ways that left strangers whispering after she passed. Her intelligence was undeniable. She was the owner of a thriving interior design company with branches in three major Nigerian cities, and her accomplishments shone like metals on her life's chest. Yet, beneath the glow of her radiant public image was a darkness she guarded like a fragile secret. Since childhood, she had battled a condition that had weakened her spirit and followed her into adulthood: bedwetting. Not the occasional accident of a stressed adult, but the persistent nightly humiliation she had suffered for decades. She had never known a morning without fear, shame, and the frantic scramble to hide her soaked bed sheets. To the world, she was accomplished, but within herself, she was still the same terrified little girl who woke up on a wet mattress, praying nobody would find out. Her relationships had failed one after the other. Men were enchanted by her beauty at first, then repulsed when they discovered her condition. The sting of abandonment had piled up like stories placed on her chest over the years. Adora had gone to doctors, specialists, herbalists, prayer houses, even psychiatrists. Nothing changed. Sometimes, in the quiet spaces of her mind, she wondered if she was cursed, but she dismissed the thought as superstition. Only one person, her childhood friend Nkem, had stood by her through the mockery, bullying, and cruelty she endured. Even as an adult, Adora still felt like a broken child trying to hold her world together. And although she built a life of beauty around her, deep inside she was drowning in a secret ocean of shame. Her childhood memories were riddled with wounds that never fully healed. Growing up in a house full of siblings who saw her weakness as entertainment, Adora learned early that the world had no mercy for imperfection. Whenever she wet the bed, the smell would betray her before she had even fully woken, and her siblings would burst into her room with mocking laughter. "Look at you, big girl that cannot even sleep without peeing." They would drag her mattress out into the sun, not caring who saw it. At school, things got even worse. She begged her mother not to send her to boarding school, but her mother insisted it would build character. Instead, it broke her. Her roommates discovered her secret the first week. They taunted her, calling her Night River and Madame Pee. The cruelty was unrelenting. They hid her bucket, stole her bedsheets, and once poured powder all over her bed so that the whole hostel would know when she had wet it. It was Nkem who stood up for her, who washed her sheets in the dead of night, who told her over and over again, "You are not cursed, Ada. You are just human." Those words had kept her alive during her darkest moments. Despite all the pain, Adora grew into a strong woman, building her identity on hard work and determination. But the shadows of her past still followed her, whispering in her ears that she was unworthy of love or happiness. No matter how successful she became, the ghost of her childhood humiliation lingered, wrapping itself around her like a second skin. In adulthood, Adora remained a paradox, a woman adored publicly but wounded privately. Men fell in love with her beauty and confidence, only to flee when they discovered her condition. The first man she truly loved had walked away after their first trip together. He had woken up in a wet bed and stared at her with disgust. "How old are you? What is this?" he demanded. She broke down sobbing, begging him not to leave, but he looked at her as if she were diseased. The next morning, he packed his things and left, blocking her number afterward. That experience shattered something inside her. Every relationship after that carried the same pattern: hope, fear, exposure, abandonment. Adaora began to see herself as defective, a woman who could achieve everything except the simple dignity of waking up dry. She threw herself into work to distract herself, becoming a perfectionist who rarely slowed down. But the loneliness crept in at night when she lay awake, terrified she would wet the bed again. She replaced mattresses constantly, slept with layers of waterproof covers, set alarms to wake her hourly, and drank water only sparingly after 6 p.m. Nothing worked. Even in her dreams, she sometimes found herself standing in front of a river or watching water flow beneath a bridge. She always woke up wet on those nights. Her success did little to ease the crushing shame she carried. Whenever people praised her strength, she wanted to scream, "I am not strong! I am broken!" But she smiled instead. Her life changed the day she met Chike, a man whose presence felt like calm water after a lifetime of storms. He approached her like someone who had known her soul before knowing her face. He was gentle, patient, and quietly persistent. Chike was the type of man who listened deeply, who noticed small details, who treated her with a tenderness she had never experienced. At first, Adaora resisted him fiercely. She had built walls so high that even she struggled to see over them. She gave him excuses, cancelled dates, avoided anything that could lead to emotional closeness. But Chike refused to give up. "I don't know what you're running from," he had told her once, "but I am here. I will wait until you stop running." His kindness frightened her more than cruelty ever did. Kindness meant possibility, possibility of love, possibility of disappointment, possibility of heartbreak. For the first time in her life, she wanted to let someone in, but the fear of exposing her secret gnawed at her. What would he say? How would he react? Would he look at her like the others had, with disgust? She tried to push him away, tried to remind herself that no man would ever accept her. But Chike kept showing up. He brought her food when she worked late, sent her good morning messages, prayed for her, and noticed when she was hurting, even when she didn't speak. Slowly, he disarmed her with gentleness, and she found herself falling in love despite her fears. The nightmares began a few months into their courtship. At first, they were simple: a girl crying in the corner of a dark room, water dripping from her hair, her eyes hollow and accusing. Adaora would wake up drenched in sweat, her heart pounding. But soon the dreams became more vivid. She began seeing visions of a girl in old-fashioned school uniform, standing beside her bed at night, whispering, "Remember me." The girl's face was always blurred, but her voice was sharp like broken glass. Adaora started hearing sounds of water even when she was awake: dripping taps, flowing rivers, echoing streams. Mirrors would fog inexplicably when she passed by, and sometimes her sheets would be wet even when she was sure she hadn't urinated. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. She began to sense a presence watching her, especially at night. The air in her room felt heavy, like someone else was breathing beside her. Once she woke up and felt a cold hand brush her cheek. She screamed and leaped out of bed, turning on all the lights, but no one was there. She didn't know how to explain it to Chike without sounding insane, but he sensed her distress. One night he asked gently, Ada, what are you hiding from me? She broke down and told him everything. The bedwetting, the nightmares, the shame, the loneliness. Chike held her as she cried, whispering, You are not alone, and you are not cursed. But he was wrong about the last part. Something supernatural had begun to stir. Unbeknownst to Adaora, Chike sought help from a powerful seer named Dibia Wokocha, a man known for uncovering generational secrets. Chike had grown up around traditional wisdom and believed that some afflictions were deeper than medicine could reach. When he explained the symptoms, the lifelong bedwetting, the nightmares, the ghostly presence, the old seer closed his eyes and muttered, This is not sickness. This is justice seeking acknowledgement. Chike was confused. The seer asked for Adora's full name, her mother's name, and her maternal lineage. The moment Chike mentioned her mother's maiden name, the seer's eyes snapped open. Ah, he whispered. It is them. He explained that Adora's affliction was not hers alone. It was tied to her mother's past, a past soaked in cruelty and sealed with a curse. Your woman must seek the truth from the one who battered her, he said. Until she hears the story with her own ears, the curse will continue. The spirit will not rest. Chike left the seer's shrine shaken. He returned to Adaora and gently told her they needed to speak to her mother. Adora's heart sank. Her mother was a strict, proud woman who rarely admitted fault. What secret could she possibly be hiding? Why would the seer know her name? That night, as Adora lay in bed, she felt the presence again. The girl standing by her bedside, silent, watching. Adora whispered, Who are you? The girl responded with a voice like water crashing against rocks. Ask your mother. The next day, Adora confronted her mother. She had barely spoken before her mother stiffened, her face darkening with an expression Adora had never seen. Don't bring such nonsense to me, her mother snapped. But Adora pressed on, recounting the nightmares, the seer's message, and the name the spirit had whispered. At that, her mother's hands began to tremble. She tried to deny it, but years of buried guilt cracked her composure. Finally, she sank into a chair, covered her face, and began to cry. What she revealed shattered Adora to her core. When she was a teenager in boarding school, Adora's mother and her friends had tormented a quiet girl named Nenna who had a bedwetting problem. They mocked her relentlessly, pouring her urine-soaked sheets into the hallway, shaming her in front of the entire school. One night, after a particularly cruel attack, Nenna had stood before them with tears streaming down her face and said, As you have humiliated me, so shall humiliation follow you and your daughters until justice is done. They laughed at her, dismissing her words as the ranting of a weak girl. But weeks later, Nenna fell gravely ill and died mysteriously during a school holiday. The girl swore never to mention the curse again. Adora stared at her mother, speechless. Her entire life, the pain, the shame, the failed relationships, suddenly made sense. Tears streamed down her face as the spirit's voice echoed in her mind. Remember me. Adora left her mother's house trembling, her mind swirling with disbelief, anger and sorrow so deep it felt like a physical wound. She wandered into her car and sat there for almost an hour, gripping the steering wheel as if it could steady the chaos inside her. The revelation had cracked something open inside her, something old, buried and angry. Nenna. The name echoed like a forgotten drumbeat. Adaora began to see the strange parallels. A tormented girl in boarding school, humiliated for bedwetting, cursed before death. And now Adaora herself was living that same humiliation. The curse had reached across generations and wrapped itself around her like barbed wire. That night, as if in response to her mother's confession, the spirit became bolder. Adaora felt the room grow cold, and when she opened her eyes, she saw the ghost of the girl fully, no longer blurred, no longer shadowed. Nenna stood before her, wearing an old dormitory uniform, her eyes swollen from eternal crying, her head dripping water, her fingers trembling with hurt. "Justice," she whispered. "You must give me justice." Adaora broke into sobs. "I didn't do anything to you," she cried. "Why me?" The spirit's voice deepened, echoing as if spoken by many voices at once. "The blood that mocked me runs through you. Your mother's guilt is your inheritance." The lights flickered violently, and the walls began to throb like a beating heart. Adaora stumbled back, terrified. She called Chike, her voice shaking, telling him everything. He didn't hesitate. Within minutes he arrived, wrapping his arms around her trembling body. "We'll fix this," he said firmly. "We will find peace for you and for that girl." But deep inside, Adaora wasn't sure peace was possible, not with the way Nenna's eyes followed her through the darkness. The seer instructed them to travel to Nenna's ancestral village in Enugu State. The journey felt surreal, as if Adaora was walking into a destiny she never asked for. The closer they got to the village, the heavier the air felt. Trees bent toward the road as though whispering secrets. Birds grew silent as they passed. When they arrived, elders received them with weary eyes. For the story of Nenna's painful life and mysterious death was still a wound in the heart of the community. Adaora explained her purpose, trembling through the account of her affliction and the revelation from her mother. The elders exchanged troubled glances. One gray-haired woman stepped forward and said, "Nenna was a quiet girl. She never deserved what was done to her. When she died, the earth itself wept. Her grave has never known peace." They led Adaora and Chike toward a forest path that twisted like a serpent. The air grew colder. Strange whispers floated between the branches. At last, they arrived at a secret grove with a small mound of earth beneath an ancient Odala tree. Nenna's resting place. The moment Adaora stepped forward, the ground beneath her feet trembled. Wind howled through the trees, though the air was still. The elders warned, "Tonight, her spirit will come. If you run, the curse will deepen. If you face her, you may survive." Adaora felt fear grip her throat, but Chike squeezed her hand. "You're not alone," he whispered. Night fell. A thick mist rolled in, and Adaora felt a cold presence behind her. She turned. Neka's spirit emerged from the shadows, clearer, taller, her eyes burning with silent anguish. The ritual had begun. The elders lit palm oil lamps around the grave, chanting ancient words meant to bind the spirit to the circle. The flames flickered violently, bending toward Nenna as though pulled. Nenna's spirit stepped closer, her feet not touching the ground, her face pale and streaked with tears that shimmered like liquid moonlight.
Why did your mother do this to me?
The spirit cried, her voice rising like thunder by her pain. Chike stepped back, giving Adaora the space required for the ritual. The seer had warned them that only Adaora, carrying her mother's lineage, could speak the words that mattered. Adaora fell to her knees.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what they did. I didn't know. Please release me. Release all of us.
But the spirit shook her head, her expression heavy with decades of suffering.
Sorry cannot heal the humiliation of a life, but acknowledgement can.
The elders instructed Adaora to recount the entire truth. Every cruelty done to Nenna, every humiliation. Adaora repeated the story through tears, forcing herself to speak her mother's shame into the air. With each word, Nenna's image flickered, from vengeful spirit to broken girl. When Adaora described the worst moment, the night her mother and friends poured Nenna's urine-soaked sheets into the hallway, Nenna let out a scream so piercing the ground split slightly beneath the Odala tree.
They destroyed me! They made me hate myself!
Adaora crawled forward and touched the earth before the spirit.
Your pain is justified. Let my acknowledgement free you.
The spirit paused. Her eyes softened. Something in the atmosphere shifted. The ritual was working. But as the elders continued their chants, something darker began to emerge. A second presence appeared, not Nenna, but the dark manifestation of her pain. A shadowy figure rose from the grave, taller than any human, shaped like a woman, but made of thick smoke and anguish. It hissed and writhed, its presence overwhelming. The elders gasped. Her sorrow has taken form, one whispered. You must confront both the girl and the shadow her suffering became. The smoke demon surged toward Adaora, its claws made of darkness, its voice a wail of bitterness. Adaora screamed and stumbled backward, but Chike pushed her aside and stepped in front of the creature, shielding her. The smoke creature screeched, slashing at him, sending him crashing to the ground. Blood trickled from his forehead. Chike! Adaora cried, crawling to him. His voice was weak but firm. Finish it! Don't let my suffering be in vain. Adaora forced herself to her feet, trembling but determined. She turned to the spirit girl. Nenna, call it back! Stop it! Nenna's spirit shook her head. Only your truth can weaken it. Only your heart can quiet it. Adaora faced the monstrous shadow, her entire body shaking. Enough! She shouted. Your pain is real, but it cannot continue destroying innocent people. I acknowledge you. I see you. I honor what happened to you. The shadow paused, trembling. Adaora stepped forward, tears streaming. You deserve love, not shame. The creature shrank slightly. You deserved protection, not humiliation. The shadow cracked like broken glass. You deserved justice, and today you have it. With a great shudder, the creature dissolved into a cloud of grey mist. The air grew still. Nenna's spirit stepped forward, her face softer than ever before. Nenna's spirit looked at Adaora with eyes finally free of rage. You have done what your mother never did, she whispered. You faced me. You listened. You acknowledged my suffering. Adaora nodded, sobbing uncontrollably. Nenna extended her hand, transparent, trembling. and touched Adora's forehead. A warm wave of energy washed over her like a waterfall of relief, forgiveness, and release. I free you, Nenna whispered. Those words seemed to vibrate across the forest, into the earth, into Adora's very soul. The Odala tree dropped its fruits in a sudden shower, a symbol of release. The elders bowed their heads. Nenna turned to leave, her form dissolving into a soft glow. But before fading completely, she whispered, Tell your mother forgiveness is possible, but she must seek it for herself. And then she was gone, completely gone. The forest fell silent, except for Adora's sobs and Chike's labored breath. Adora rushed to him, lifting his head gently. I'm here, she whispered. I'm safe. We're safe. Chike smiled weakly. I told you we would overcome this. The elders helped carry him to the village healer, who tended to his injuries. As dawn broke, Adora felt something she had never felt before, dryness. For the first time since childhood, she had woken up without fear, without shame, without wetness. She burst into tears of gratitude. The curse had broken. Returning to Lagos felt like stepping into a new life. Adora noticed the changes immediately. No nightmares, no whispers, no cold touches in the night. Her bed remained dry. Her heart felt lighter. She walked differently, breathed differently, thought differently. She was healed. The first thing she did was confront her mother again, not with anger this time, but with clarity. She shared everything that happened in the village. Her mother broke down completely, collapsing into Adora's arms. I was foolish, she cried. I was wicked. I didn't know pain could follow generations. Adora held her, both of them sobbing. You must seek forgiveness, Adora whispered. Not from me, from her spirit. Together, they planned a visit to Nenna's village. Meanwhile, Chike healed from his injuries. His love for Adora grew deeper, stronger, rooted in all they had survived. One evening, he knelt before her and said, I want a life with you, healed, whole, and free. Adora felt tears of joy warm her cheeks. This time, she had no fear holding her back, no shame clouding her heart. She said yes, and for the first time in her life, she truly felt worthy of love. Adora and Chike's wedding was small and beautiful, held by the riverside, symbolic of cleansing and rebirth. Her mother attended, visibly humbled, wearing white as a sign of repentance. Nkem, her loyal friend from childhood, stood beside her, teary-eyed with pride. The journey that had once felt like a curse had now become a story of redemption. That night, Adora dreamt of Nenna one last time, but this dream was peaceful. Nenna stood by the river, smiling softly, no tears in her eyes, no sorrow on her face. Live freely, she whispered. You have paid the price of your mother's ignorance. Now be happy. Adora woke with a deep sense of finality. She knew the curse was gone forever. In the years that followed, Adora became an advocate for patients with nighttime disorders, helping others overcome shame and find medical and emotional support. She told her story only to those who needed to hear it, using her pain as a lamp for others, still walking in darkness. She and Chike built a family grounded in honesty, compassion, and spiritual awareness. Her mother continued her path of repentance, supporting children with special needs and sponsoring a scholarship in Nenna's name in her hometown. As for Adora, she finally understood a powerful truth. Sometimes the battles we fight are not ours alone, but echoes of old wounds demanding to be healed. And when we face them with courage, truth, and love, even curses can become pathways to freedom. She lived the rest of her life dry, healed, whole, and unbound. Every heart carries a story, but healing begins when truth is finally told. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful tales from African Flavor Folk Tales. Until next time, keep your spirit clean and your heart brave. Bye.